Hello everyone, welcome to my video on digital forensics. What is digital forensics and why is it so important? My name is Andrew Chang, a student at Metropolitan State University, and this video is a part of the Cyber 332 computer security course led by Dr. Faisal Kaleem. Quick disclaimer, due to the nature of the presented topics, this video is solely for educational purpose, that I'm not liable for any damages that could be caused using these demonstrations. So, what is it? What is digital forensics, you might ask? Digital forensics is a specialized field within cybersecurity and criminal investigation, specifically within forensics, that involves identifying, preserving, analyzing, and the presenting of digital evidence in a way that's legally admissible. It focuses on uncovering and interpreting data stored or transmitted in a digital form, such as files on a computer, mobile device, cloud platforms, or network systems. Digital forensics is essential in both criminal and civil cases, helping investigators trace unauthorized access to a device or a computer, recovering deleted files, analyzing malware and digital attacks, or confirming the misuse of digital systems. The goal of digital forensics is to maintain the integrity of the device, while also using repeatable, legally sound methods to reconstruct events and provide clear, core admissible evidence. With the focus of digital forensics on finding core admissible evidence while maintaining its integrity and doing so in a way that can be replicated, you might ask, what is the digital evidence used for? Digital forensics, and in this case, digital evidence, is used in a variety of settings, including criminal investigation, cybersecurity incidents, internal company investigation, legal disputes and civil litigation, and data recovery and analysis. In criminal cases, it helps uncover evidence in cybercrime, such as hacking, fraud, identity theft, and more. It can also support investigations into more traditional crimes by analyzing call logs, emails, or GPS data to establish timelines and suspect movements. In corporate environments, such as in internal company investigations or cybersecurity incidents, digital forensics is often used to investigate data breaches, insider threats, or violations of company policies. In cybersecurity, digital forensics help identify how a system was compromised, what data was affected, and who may be responsible. It also plays a role in civil litigation, such as divorce or contract disputes, where electronic communication or financial records are critical. Or, in our last case, digital forensics can be used to recover data that was lost, whether intentionally or accidentally, or it can be used to analyze corrupted or damaged systems, whether computer, networks, or mobile devices, to identify what went wrong. Now, having established what digital forensics is and what the outcome of the digital forensics is used for, let's get into the steps that are involved in digital forensics. Going back or referencing to when we talked about what is digital forensics focuses on four main things in the process: identifying, preserving, analyzing, and presenting digital evidence in a way that's legally or court admissible. Starting off with identifying, which is the first step in digital forensics investigation, where digital investigators determine what digital evidence exists, limited to the scope of the investigation so that the time and resources are spent focusing on the most likely sources of valuable evidence, where that potential evidence is located, and whether it is related to the investigation, identifying all devices and data sources that may contain information, including computers, mobile phones, USB drives, cloud storages, emails, network logs, and other digital media. Locating data types and determining and considering whether that data is volatile data, such as RAM or live network data, or non-volatile data, such as data stored on hard drives and such. While doing this is also important to keep track of what you want to find out, so filter out the irrelevant information and prioritize the information that you may require for the investigation. The most important thing to keep track of in this step and every step is to document everything. This keeps track of what was gathered at the scene so that it could be simulated. Now, having provided a brief overview of identifying what is important in a forensic investigation, we'll move on to our next step, which is preserving evidence. Preserving, which is the second step of the digital forensic investigation, is a key part in keeping your evidence legally and court admissible, as any modification to the original data could lead to the evidence being invalidated. So, some of the key things to take note of here are to isolate the device, whether it be a hard drive, smartphone, or server. A digital forensic investigator must take immediate steps to isolate the device after securing it. This often includes actions such as disconnecting the device from networks to prevent remote access or further tampering, disconnecting the devices from power to ensure that nothing is modified during the process, which is a whole dilemma onto itself, and using write blockers to ensure that no data is modified during the collection process. Chain of custody is important part of preserving the data. As the data passes through hands while during the investigation, it is important to know who has done what, whether there are other copies and duplicates of the original, and keeping track of all this allows the data to be tracked and repeated if the investigation requires it to be repeated. Duplication and copies are one of the essential part of preserving digital evidence, which involves creating forensic images, which are exact bit-by-bit copies of the original data storages, whether they be from USB drives, hard drives, or other alternative storages. These images allow investigators to examine the contents of a device without risking alterations to the original source of the evidence. While doing this, it is also important to keep note of the hash values, whether it be SHA-256 or MD5, as any changes to the data in any way would result in a change in the hash value, rendering the data and the copy invalidated and not court admissible. Storage is a key part of the chain of custody. One of the parts of preserving digital evidence, as wrongful storage could lead the data to be damaged or corrupted. Thus, it is important to keep such data in tamper-evident bags and in a clean and safe environment, ensuring that the data cannot be modified or damaged by external factors such as electric shocks, tampering, or modified by external networks. Volatile data, as talked about briefly in identifying digital evidence, is a whole problem unto itself, as volatile data is only temporarily stored in a computer system and is lost when the system is powered off or unplugged. It exists mainly in active memory, or RAM, and other temporary storages like cache, registers, and running processes. And due to its nature of only being temporarily stored, it is extremely time sensitive and must be collected immediately during a live or active state of the system, which leads to the dilemma of whether or not the computer or device should be plugged in or unplugged to preserve or collect the volatile data. Now, knowing the importance of preserving evidence and keeping the original source of the data intact, we can go on to our next step in the process of digital forensics, which is analyzing the digital evidence found from the copies and duplicates. Analyzing in digital forensics is where digital forensics investigators carefully examine preserved digital evidence to uncover relevant information that supports the case, whether that be in a criminal investigation, litigation or dispute, violation of company policy, or just analyzing a cybersecurity attack. Thus, it is important to establish what is the scope of the investigation. In criminal investigation or litigations, you might be required by court to only be able to view certain data or data types. So it is important to know the scope of what you're investigating and you're allowed to do. As a digital forensic investigator, it is important to know about file systems and directories, such as those on operating systems like Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. It is important to know what you're working with and how you're going to look for evidence located in those file systems and directories. This knowledge into file systems and directories allow you to be able to see and recover deleted or hidden data, often stored in stack spaces. Logs and metadata are going to be something to keep note of, as they hold valuable information onto what's going on this computer onto what's going on this computer or device. As such, logs keep tracks of login records, applications that were used and opened, connected devices and networks, and other such information which allows you to build a case on the person using the device. These logs and metadata allow you to build a timeline of the user activity on the device, which allows you to be able to more predictably find where evidence is stored, or to build a profile on what the user has done, what they usually do with the device, and whether the action was user-driven or automated. When analyzing data or finding evidence, it is important to figure out whether there is encryption going on within the device and whether that data or evidence is being obfuscated or made unclear or unintelligible. This can lead to dead ends with investigation, as the case may require court intervention to ask the defendant for the decryption passphrase or method. As always, it is important, very important, to keep documentation of everything and whether the digital evidence is or can be considered court admissible, as documentation is key in allowing others to be led onto the same answer, allowing the case to be repeated, showing that nothing was tampered, and that the methods used were repeatable and nothing underhanded was used. Next, we'll cover some tools used during the analyzing step in digital forensic investigation, which in this case includes software such as EnCase, which is pretty much industry standard, as it is one of the most used digital forensic tools used to copy and create forensic images, which are exact bit-by-bit copies of hard drive, solid-state drives, USB drives, mobile devices, and more. Due to the way which it copies bit-by-bit data, it also copies along deleted files, hidden partitions, and slack space data, which is important during a forensic investigation, such as information could be possible evidence. As such information could be possible evidence. Autopsy is a part of the GUI for the Sleuth Kit, which provides a user-friendly interface to interact with, which is perfect for beginners or those who prefer a visual interface to interact with. The Sleuth Kit, however, is a collection of command line tools that allow forensic investigators to analyze disk images and file systems, which support a variety of file systems, including NTFS, FAT, exFAT, and more, while also providing functionality for listing and recovering deleted files, viewing file system structures, analyzing metadata and timestamps, examining partitions and volumes, and carving data from unallocated space. FTK, much like the other, is used to collect evidence and analyzing data. However, it is more often used for data which have large data sets, which also supports a variety of file systems. X-ray forensics is quite similar to the others. However, it is often praised for its speed, low system resource usage, and its technical depth. Wireshark, on the other hand, isn't used to analyze data on a computer, but network traffics that come to and from the computer, and the protocols that are involved with that traffic, which allows you to be able to track what networks they're connected to, going towards what data are being transferred, and all sorts of other network traffic incoming and outgoing from the device, whether it be on authorized or authorized network devices. And I'm going to go into my demo, which in this case I'm using Autopsy. When we open a case, we always have a case name, which is, in this case, I'm going to use case example. And doing this, we have to select the base directory, and which I'm using the folder which I store my class information. Clicking next, we have a case number which we're usually given. So right now I'm just typing in a random number. Name is Andrew, phone, email, notes. In which case, this is a case example demo. After doing that, it loads up the directory. In this case, we're adding the data source. So in this case, I'm just going to accept the default. I'm going to select the local disk from these, and then using the local disk, I'm going to select an external hard drive or USB drive. I'm going to click next, then just going to accept the default here. After this, it goes on processing the data. After finishing, you can see that pops up on the side here. And here you can see the files that are stored here, whether it is the file types, which you can view here by the extension, images, videos, audio, archives, databases, documents, and executables. In this case, I have a lot of images. You can also view deleted files, which are on the local file system. Select out of there. And you can also view other stuff in here. In this case, if there is like images, it should show up under here. Going through this, there's personal information here, so can't really, access that or show that online. And that's pretty much just a brief look into what's in the autopsy. And on to the final step, which is presenting. The presenting is like the final step of digital forensics investigation, and it's one of the most critical steps, where the findings are compiled and documented into a forensic report, with forensic report typically serving as a comprehensive and core admissible summary of the investigation, which documents the methodology used, tools and techniques applied, and the chain of custody and all other relevant information. In some cases, the forensic investigator may also be required to testify as an expert witness in court, often having to present the findings in a way that's not only technically sound, but also clear, professional, and easy to follow for the jury, often having to adapt to keep the audience engaged or bring visual aid to help in understanding the context of the data, with the credibility of the entire investigation often being hinged on how well the data is communicated, making attention to detail and objectivity essential. Some of the most followed standards among digital forensic investigators are from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or the NIST, which is a U.S. government agency that provides guidelines and standards for digital forensics and cybersecurity, with some of its key takeaway of promoting consistency, reliability, and quality in forensic investigation in a way that is scientifically validated and widely trusted in both criminal and civil investigations. Another one is the International Organization for Standardization, or the ISO, which is a standard used globally to promote global consistency and interoperability in forensic investigation, which is important in cross-border or international cases of criminal investigation, attacks, or litigations and disputes. The last one, another US-based group made up of experts from federal, state, and local law enforcement, academic institutions, and private industries, called the Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence, or the SWGDE, which produces guidelines, best practices, and white papers on a wide range of digital forensic topics, which include tool recommendation, methodologies, and documentation methods, and also covers such topics as forensic standards in mobile devices, video forensics, cloud investigations, and works closely with legal entities to ensure its guidelines meet core standards and admissibility. In conclusion, digital forensics is an emerging field and is rapidly evolving, and is a vital discipline in the modern digital world, enabling investigators to uncover, analyze, and preserve digital evidence in a methodical and legally sound manner. With the rise of cybercrime, data breaches, and digital fraud, the importance of digital forensics has grown tremendously across law enforcement, corporate security, and legal sectors. The process involves several, or in this case, 4 critical steps: identification, preservation, analysis, and presentation, each guided by industry standards to ensure that the evidence is accurate, admissible, and handled with integrity. Tools like FDK, EnCase, Xways, and Wireshark aid investigators in processing data from a wide range of digital sources, including hard drives, mobile devices, networks, and memory. Adherence to the established frameworks and standards, such as those from NIST, ISO, and SWGDE, ensures that investigations are consistent, repeatable, and defendable in court. These standards also help investigators maintain professionalism and accountability throughout the investigative process. As digital technology continues to evolve, so too will the techniques and challenges in digital forensics, making ongoing training and awareness essential for forensics professionals. That's the end. Thank you for watching the video.